know what you're trying to do might work well for you, but it's killing me. This crazy ride that we've been through, something that grew and grew for you and me. I wanna hold you close, need to have you so near. I don't want the things we feel to disappear. I just wanna hold your hand, help you understand. I don't wanna lose you to no shifting sand.
You are tuned into American Veterans Radio, where we are dedicated to our military, first responders, indie artists, and of course our great listeners around the world. Hope you are having a great day as always. We have the opportunity to have the man himself, Jason Mark Yates, join us again in the studios of American Veterans Radio, live from the UK. Mr. Jason Mark Yates, how are you doing this afternoon, sir?
I'm fine, thank you, Jim, and it's great to be talking to you right now.
Like I said, thanks again. This is the second time we've had the opportunity to speak, and it's just a great time. You're a great talent, and hope to have you as a great friend for years to come.
Well, I'm sure you will, Jim. There's no problem there.
Now let's talk a little bit about Jason Mark Yates, the musician, the composer, the writer. But before I do, I know that in your bio you said that you've written over 100 songs just in the last 18 months, and you have no intention of stopping. And I quote, "I want to connect with people, and for me, writing songs are the way I know best. After all, music has been one of the closest friends since I was born. In many ways, I owe music my life," unquote. Wow, pretty powerful.
Yeah.
Now, when I read that, I've also had the opportunity, and many people may not have, to read your bio. And, you started off kind of pretty rough patch there as a youngster with your mother and the connection there. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it was... I've come to realise as I've got older, it was quite a bizarre upbringing, really. It's funny, but when you're a kid, you don't always notice or recognise things. It's later in life you look back and you think. My mother suffered from schizophrenia, and because of that, she had quite bizarre behaviour. She used to serve up frozen food for meals quite regularly. And incidentally, something I didn't tell you before, my father, who... was amazing, really, the way he used to cope with situations. His answer to that was to buy a couple of pea shooters. Do you know what pea shooters are?
Yes, I do.
You have them in the States, yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Well, and with the frozen peas, his answer was that we'd be firing them at one another as a bit of fun, So rather than get depressed over it, my dad found a way of getting round it, and I'd be laughing and he'd be laughing, and yet it was a ridiculous situation. And because of that, I never really had a connection with my mother at all. For 6 months she just didn't pick me up because she wanted a girl and I wasn't. And so for 6 months I had no connection with her whatsoever. And then after that it was just a connection with someone who was on Valium, taking electric shock treatment, and somebody who was there but not really there, if you know what I mean.
Yes, I do. And also reading your bio, it says that due to the situation that you just described, it was inevitable that eventually your mother and father divorced when you were what, about 12?
No, I was only 3 years old.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, just 3 years old when they divorced. My father just couldn't deal with it. Incidentally, he was one of the first people in the country to be given custody of a child as a man. Custody always went to the woman. But the judge could see that she was in such a bad state of mind, that he awarded custody to my father.
Wow. Yeah, that is, like you said, even here in the States, most of the time the mother will always keep custody.
Yeah.
Now, okay, we've got this, and it actually sounds rather sad, to be honest with you. But with that being said, I know in my own life, a lot of times the hardest times end up being what built the character and made me and created and molded me into something that I am now. So with that being said, your music, is that, you think, a direct result maybe from some of those issues you had when you were younger?
I think it is, you know, Jim. We never discussed this before, but when I think of my childhood, those and believe me, this is people have told me this is remarkable. I never thought about it before, but I've got memories up to 3 years of age. A lot of people can't even remember when they were three, but some of my memories were really quite strong memories. And whenever I think back to those first 3 years, it's like everything was grey, everything was damp, everything was dark, very deep and dark, you know. So I find that when I'm writing songs, I don't tend to ever want to write a surface kind of song. I find that I'm trying to get to some hidden depths of things. So if I can reach somebody and connect with somebody and they can really feel something, I think that's probably a direct result of the kind of background that I had. When I think about it, I'm sure that's got a lot to do with it.
You know, and I have listened to several of your songs, and actually, since we spotlighted you here on the station, and the fact I can hear the in depth meaning to some of your songs. When you said something about a surface song, basically you're just saying you're not putting something out just for the sake of putting it out.
Yeah, I'm not interested in just putting a song out because it's got a beat. I'm not interested in putting a song out because it's commercially entertaining or it's what everybody wants to hear. Or it's all... I find it difficult writing songs about just having a good time and just having fun and things like that, because sometimes those kind of things are just frivolous and there's no depth to them and there's no substance to them. Not saying they can't be good and people can't enjoy them, let their hair down, have a great time. Obviously they can. But I just find it difficult writing anything that doesn't move me deeply, you know. It's that kind of thing. Having said that, I am very conscious that I don't want to become somebody that just writes miserable stuff. A lot of people tell me it isn't. Sometimes I feel it is. But I think that's my problem rather than anything else.
I find that quite refreshing when you say, you know, that you're not after just writing a song for the sake of writing a song, because sadly, many artists get caught up, especially when you start getting into record labels and that, and you basically become a master of whatever they want you to become.
Yeah.
And whereas in your case, I believe, you know, you're strictly independent. You can pretty well do anything that you want to do because it's what you want to do.
This is the great thing about indie artists, isn't it? It's almost a bit of a contradiction in the sense that most indie artists would want to be found and recognised and used on a big level, and yet if that happened, you might lose everything that you are, that makes you who you are, and that could be a big price to pay. So ultimately I think it comes down to the fact that you love music, you love what you do, and that has got to be the primary motive. That's got to be the thing that drives you more than anything. And if other things come, then maybe in one way financially it would be a great thing, and in another way it would create some problems or some issues, you know. I'd hate somebody to tell me, you know, you've got to sing this kind of song if I don't like it. You know, I've got to feel the song, otherwise why would I do it, you know?
Sure, and you know, you hit on something, and I was actually reading an article here a while back that many of the independent artists now are actually not wanting to be signed because of the restrictions that apply to them.
Yeah.
So, you know, I can understand that. You know, I really can.
I think so too.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I'm just agreeing with you totally, yeah.
Okay, let's get back to your music a little bit. I know that your grandparents, according to your bio, was a big influence on you. You were raised listening to classical music, and I, too, am a classical music fan. How did that how did those roots with classical music take you? I mean, not necessarily where you are today, but take you from when you started getting into that and then you finally picked up an instrument, and how did that connection come into play?
Well, I think I've mentioned the background. We've spoke about the background. I think when you've lived in a situation where it's void of any love or any connection, you can feel that through music. And when I was 7, 8, 9, 10 years of age, I would often lie down on the settee and listen to classical music. Beethoven, Chopin, Liszt, Brahms, and the melodies in those songs that I listened to were so compelling and so with a lot of depth with that, obviously. And I think the melodies move you, so that will always be a big part of the music that I do. I can't ever see me writing anything that doesn't have a melody in it. It's got to have some kind of theme, some kind of melody in it. And I thank those years listening to the classical music. I thank those years for that, I think.
You know, you mentioned that, and I want to move on to your rock part of your life. But with Beethoven Moonlight Sonata, I remember hearing that for the first time, and I actually taught myself how to play that on the piano.
Yeah.
I could feel that song. It was almost like I could feel Beethoven's suffering when he wrote that song.
Yeah.
And to me, that's the true sign of music, when it can touch you to that kind of depth, you know?
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Now, also, you do it from that classical, and you progressed into quote-unquote heavy rock bands. Now, I listen to your music now, and I find it kind of difficult to think that you were some kind of hard rocker sometime down the line.
Yeah. Well, I had long...
Come on, do tell now, come on.
I had long hair and the jeans and, you know, the usual gear that was worn back in the 70s. I enjoyed those times. I really did. And I was in a young band. I mean, bearing in mind I was only 14, about 14 years of age. And it was a very talented young band. They were very tight. We played well. We got a lot of interest. Unfortunately, we were underage, so nobody could actually use us.
Sure.
And the band actually broke up before I had a chance to do anything with that. But it was good. No, we did Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, all that kind of stuff. And it's a fond memory I've got. I did, though, used to... I remember I used to go through the set waiting for that rock song that was more melodic to me. And every rock band has done a fantastic love song or ballad. They've all done it. You know, they've all done something. Right. Stairway to Heaven, Led Zeppelin, everybody knows that. Beautifully written, you know. Genesis, bands like that, I've heard some of the stuff they've done. Beautiful melodies. And I would wait for the song to come so that I could listen to it and think, oh, great, you know, I can really get into this. I didn't mind the driving beats and stuff of the heavy rock, and it taught me to be tighter with rhythmic guitaring and stuff like that. So yeah, it was a time I appreciate very much.
And it probably, if I'm making an assumption here, but it probably, here again, like classical music or whatever the case, somewhere down the line, it probably had its influence in what you are today. Yeah, I think so. To some extent, you know, right? So,
yeah. And it's in my head, you know. I've got a rock guitarist in my head. It's there. And at any given moment, I could get to a point where I write it. I think the only song that comes anywhere near that I've written is Am I to Blame, isn't it, really? That comes somewhere near what we used to do back in those days.
Now, I want to quote Chet Fortune, if you will give me just a second here. And he says, there are folks who write songs, and then there are songwriters whose lyrics and melodies grab something within you with their poetry and their emotion. There are folks who sing songs, and then there are vocalists who move you with their tone and texture and their artistry. There are folks who play the guitar, and then there are guitarists who provide just the perfect touch musically to their creation. Each talent alone is commemorable. Seldom do you get all three in the same package. Take a listen to him, meaning you, and then go grab his music. If you're like me, his is the kind of music that I need to have. Up close and personal, unquote. That's powerful, my friend.
It's a great quote, isn't it? I think that'll probably be on my website front page for a very long time.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah,
I mean, that's phenomenal. But I think that kind of really, what little bit that I've been listening to your music, I think that really kind of does sum you up. You are the full Monty, if you will, right?
Well, thanks for saying that. I just work very, very hard at what I do, and very often I don't even notice until somebody else says, "Hey, I really enjoyed this. This is great," and I'll sometimes be saying things like, "Really?" and I mean, even today with Alex, that's the guy who I'm working with, and enjoying working with him. He's doing some good stuff. And even Alex said, I was listening to one of the songs you've done, and he said, "Do you think we could do this one?" And it was, I think I probably did it about 5 months ago or something. I literally recorded this song, put it out on a site, and forgot it. And Alex made me look at it again, and I'm thinking, "Hey, this is a good song." I've actually written it and thinking, "Hey, this is good." But that's literally how I am. I'll write a song, put it out, write a song, put it out. And I'm just like a steam train that just keeps going and going and going. And when people mention something, and I'm sure I'm not alone here, I'm sure a lot of artists are very similar in, they get surprised if somebody likes something because you don't really think about it, You just keep going. But it's good when you hear it.
You talk about putting the song out and then, putting it out and then just kind of forgetting about it. However, one of those songs that you put out, using your words, Reaching Out, ended up being a finalist in the UK songwriting contest, scoring you 9 out of 10 for that song. Wow.
Yeah. I'm very fond of that song as well.
I might add real quick, is the judges included producers who worked with Elton John, Sting, Paul McCartney, and Robbie Williams, some of those less known names, right?
Yeah, that was a great surprise, to be honest. It really was. In fact, my writing partner in California, I remember I was looking down the competition winners, expecting to see Darcy's name down there in the finalists, or even as a winner. And then I saw my name, and I had to keep looking at it and thinking, this is me, So it was really wonderful, and Darcy did very well anyway. I think we both got semi-finalists and other commended entries for what we did. And I think submitting songs for competitions will be something that we will be doing for quite a while.
Now, you mentioned Darcy Jevons from California. Please talk about her. I mean, we've played some of her music here on American Veterans Radio as well. Fantastic talent.
She is. She's amazing. Darcy was quite incredible for me. As you probably gathered, I'm quite independent, and I could literally write songs till the day I die, completely alone. Putting it all together, I don't feel short of ideas to the point that I'm going to run out. I just feel there's loads and loads of ideas. So when I was on this site and I listened to Darcy, I listened to a particular song, and it really moved me to tears. It was so beautiful, and I just instantly thought, I want to write with this woman. I really want to write with this woman. And the moment I said that, I thought, this is so not like you, But I asked her how she would feel about it, and little did I know that she'd been looking at my music and feeling exactly the same way. So there's this powerful connection and respect and love for each other's work and the way we operate and what we do. And that comes out in the music, you know. There's like a really special thing goes on there when we write together. So that's a good thing for me, you know. Not only do I have Alex to work with for doing gigs and stuff, I've got Darcy for writing songs with. She writes on her own and works with others too, and I write on my own. But we've got an EP that we're working towards. We are very busy, but we are working towards it. We've got one song already, Shifting Sands.
Which, by the way, we've played, and it's fantastic.
I'm glad you like that. You know, we're very, very proud of that. But we think the album will be called Shifting Sands, and it'll be, well, an EP. We'll have 4 or 5 songs on there. And Darcy's working on one at the moment called Wishful Thinking. We're working on it together. And we've got other ideas we're throwing around. So that's on the way, you know.
You know, before we have to kind of start winding ourselves down, you work with Darcy. Now, Darcy's out in California, and naturally you're in England. How do you together collaborate? Because naturally the time difference itself has got to be restrictive, right? So,
yeah, we've got a window. We've got a window where I'm asleep, she's awake. Then she's asleep and I'm awake. But there is a time period where we connect, and we do connect a lot. And in that time period, we unfortunately Skype, as wonderful as it is and as amazing as what it can do, we play our guitars together over the internet with ideas. And Darcy can hear me playing with her, but when I play anything, it cuts Darcy out from my end. So it's very difficult for us to play together. But we get our ideas together. We send so many files backwards and forwards, and I'll send something to Darcy and she'll say, well, I'm not quite happy with this bit, could we change that? And then she'll have an idea and I'll say, well, you know, how about if we do it this way? And we just so get on well with the music, and we're always happy with what we come out with. So yeah, it's been a wonderful thing for me, and it'll continue for many years, I'm sure.
Where can folks go out and find the music you have right now and that of Darcy's, if they would like to purchase that?
Well, my website is jasonmarkyates.com. And on my website, I've got a page called Yates and Jevons. And if you actually click on Darcy's picture on that page, it takes you straight to her website. If you click on my picture, it takes you to our Facebook page that involves the two of us. So I find the website is the best link. There's also an iTunes link on there, and you'll also find the same on Darcy's. So I think that's probably the quickest way to actually connect with either of us. So that's jasonmarkyates.com, and I believe it's the same, darcyjevons.com for Darcy too.
Well, Jason, thank you so much for joining me and American Veterans Radio again, and I know our audience is going to absolutely continue to support you, and you will always be out on our website. You were our Artist Spotlight of the Week. You are currently under the artists we support, and you will stay there until you tell us to move you. So we do want you to know that you've always got a home here. We will continue to play anything that you send us. That goes for Darcy, and I hope your collaboration with Alex works as well, so we'd love to hear it all.
That is really kind of you, and really I know Darcy and myself feel really at home with your station. We feel as though we've adopted AVR as the main place we want to work with, because you've just been so good to us, and your whole attitude is very, very welcoming, and we really feel that, you know. And so when you talk about being a member of the AVR family, we really feel that, and we're very grateful.
Well, thank you so much, and Godspeed, and we hope to hear from you soon, my friend. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jason Mark Yates.
Thank you, Jim.